right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the finish line.
I coached a great offensive lineman in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one as I am joined by my beautiful co-hosts, the legendary Richmond Webb, who's fading into his background slowly but surely, week by week. One day he's just going to be gone, and it's just going to say, are you ready for some football? But we'll hear his voice. And Mr. BallGame. No comment as of tonight. The man who's flexing on all y'all. What's going on, boys? Third loss in a row. It's felt like it's been forever since we've had a victory Monday. Let's be honest with ourselves. Hey, but it's not for lack of chances to have victory Mondays off the games are coming in. I mean, we can say what we want. Every game has ended, with the last three games have ended with the quarterback who didn't prepare to be the starter that week, finishing the game, being the starter throughout the game. And it hasn't worked out for Skyler or Teddy. Now, in all fairness to Skyler, especially after watching the film, that kid was cooking in that first quarter until, his own teammates negated a bunch of plays. And man, Skyler, I love the kids. I've said it I love the kid's ceiling in this offense, him into his ceiling. How you feeling, boys? It's 3 losses in a row. Bills, Jets, and Patriots fans are basking in the glory of our losses and bathing in our tears of sorrow. But it's a clean slate. There's 11 games remaining, and we are entering a 5-game stretch that is very, very winnable with a healthy Tua Tagovailoa. How y'all feeling going into prime time this weekend, boys?
Go ahead, BallGame. I always start. You start it. Go ahead.
Whoa, BallGame throwing the curves tonight, eh?
Drop that knowledge, BallGame. Come on with it.
I would venture to thank you, Richmond. I would venture to say that under the circumstances, I think there's a lot of positives that can be taken away from these last 3 games. Although we lost the games, I still see a team that's not giving up on each other, right? And I still see a bunch of guys that are rallying around guys that we didn't expect to be in key leadership positions, especially at the quarterback spot. And although it hasn't produced wins for us, this says a lot about the character of the guys that we have on the team. There's always little things that you want as a coach. There's always things you want to see your guys do. And the biggest one is probably compete to the end, regardless of what circumstances are in front of you. And they've done that. I was very impressed with what I saw from Skyler. I do like the fact that he was spinning that thing, man. But it's unfortunate that we still fell victim to our own miscues and our own lack of being able to be professionals at positions that are key for the success of this offense. The offensive line is still struggling. There's just so much stuff going on, and you can identify right now. It's a couple guys, it's not the entire group, but it's a couple guys, key things and key moments that just tell you right off the bat that they're just not ready, and this is not the group that we need to have out there going forward. But I was hoping for 4-2. They gave me 3-3. Now that just means that the next 11 are that much more crucial, and they put more pressure on themselves. So at this point now.
You got to go 8-3.
You gotta go.
Like 7-4 might not get you in the playoffs.
No,
I want y'all to think about that.
They gotta win 8. They gotta win 8. That's the number. That's the target number now. You gotta win 8 of the next 11.
All you had to do was win one
more
out of the 3 he was out. And hey, 7 out of the last 11, 7-4.
You're in.
That I know 8-3. There's only one game, but that's a vast
right.
Whew.
The talent in the AFC, man, I think is grossly underestimated in terms of how close a lot of these teams really are, and it's going to be a dogfight. So every game is that much more crucial, and losing 3 in a row the way we did doesn't generally bode well for team confidence. But I think these guys, I mean, I talked to my son earlier, and he was talking about, Uno stretched for like 2 minutes and got up and started throwing the ball with Mike Gesicki. He was like, don't just stretch, let's get to work type of deal. So that energized everybody. So, I think he cooks this. I honestly think he cooks this weekend, bro. Yeah, man. I think it's gonna be it's gonna be remarkable in terms of how he goes about executing his game plan against, Pittsburgh. Everybody else got to come do what they do. Tyreek's gonna show up. Waddle will show up. Yeah, I really do hate. I'm gonna say this now. I think it's really, really low budget and very, very unprofessional in regards to how people can call themselves fan, but then they want to go and dog this kid for trying to put everything he had into trying
Waddle?
to Yeah, man, it's just horrible, bro.
Oh, bro, like people have been turning on Waddle and have been calling for Mike McDaniel's job. Yet, crazy, when we were 3-0 against tough teams, I mean, all of y'all were loving his life. And I mean, hey, sure, did we beat up a banged up Bills and did we beat up a banged up Ravens? Sure, but were they missing Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen like we were missing Tua Tagovailoa? So it's not even comparable to me. Like, this man McDaniel has lost, his QB1, right? CB1 has been in and out of the lineup. CB2 hasn't even suited up. CB3 just tore his Achilles. CB4 didn't even enter the regular season because Trill got hurt. CB5 is dealing with an oblique injury. Kadir Kahu. LT1's been in and out of the lineup. RT1's been out of the lineup since week 2, right? Yeah. Think of these. These are major losses. Like, listen, hey, the Bills could make it do without Tre'Davious White. They had Josh Allen, and we could make do without Byron Jones. We proved that we went 3-0 because we had Tua. Yeah. But now look at everything's collapsing around. Like, dude, this is okay. I know we all want to see everyone is talking about, hey, let's see what McDaniel's made of in adversity and a losing streak. But this isn't just a losing streak. These are
at least have a fighting chance.
These are key injuries, and like Skylar's getting hurt. Look at. Every quarterback on this roster has now, other than Reed Sinnett, because he hasn't dressed up, has been hurt behind this offensive line.
Yep.
I'm just saying. So,
crazy.
And hey, I know Skylar had injury issues at Kansas State, but I mean, are we going to go call him his first official start? He got injured and taken out. Are we going to start calling him injury prone now? Everyone, it's not these guys are injury prone, it's they're prone to injury behind that offensive line. That's exactly the wording people need to use.
Yeah, it's all about contact because they go in healthy, they come out banged up because these guys, like, I've never said this, I have said some crass things about some players, but I don't want to see Eichenberg the rest of the year.
He's terrible. And I saw people on social media trying to justify him. Come on. They're showing the one stunt he picked up when he's missing 2 or 3 a game weekly. Yeah. What are we saying right now? Liam Eichenberg is not a starting caliber left guard. He does not have the anchor. He does not have the feet. He's not athletic enough. His arms are too short. He's like a T-Rex. It's a disaster.
I thought Jackson was bad, but
Jackson's salvageable in this scheme. This guy is not.
Yeah, it was bad, bro.
Sorry, man. Eichenberg is not a starter, bro. And hey, even Hunt's regressing.
Which makes it even crazier, man. It's like, is it something you wish for now, early, as opposed to late, though? Maybe they get it back there. Maybe he gets his head back together. Or did he miss Jackson that much?
I don't know, but this is what I want to say to you boys, especially to Richmond. Richmond, one of my friends in this industry, his name's Matt Valdivinos. He covers the Commanders, and he was a 5-star prospect offensive lineman until he tore his knee up in high school. his senior year, right? And he says to me, if you lose 2 or 3 reps, you've lost the game. Like that was his whole motto. He's like, you're only out there for what, 50 to 60 reps at max. If you lose 3 of those, he's like, you've lost the game, because those could turn into sacks. Those can, he's very hard on himself. And I know a player like you is probably very hard on himself. So like when I look at people trying to find Liam Eichenberg's 1 or 2 plays in a game, but there's a way more plethora of bad plays, make it make sense, Richmond. I mean, you're watching the same guy we're watching. Come on, man. This guy, I know you've been around guys that have been elite and that have played at the highest level. This guy's just not ready, bro. Like, this guy is he's going to get someone hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something we can't afford right now. And, that's the thing I was thinking about. And I can even think back to when we were doing our season picks and our predictions for the season, and a lot of people on that panel, the concern was the offensive line. That was one of my concerns. But then even bringing in a guy like Terron Armstead, it was several guys on that panel that did believe he could play, a 17-game season. They said if we can get 12 games out of him, that'll be good. And he's already missed, 2 or 1.5.
Yeah.
And with the way the quarterback situation, I don't think any other team in this league has had to deal with what we had to deal with. And you put it, like Teddy against the Jets, first play gets hurt. We go with Skyler, then we get Skyler, then he gets hurt against Minnesota. We got to go back to Teddy. So it's just been musical chairs. And even with Tua coming back this week, I'm happy about that. But at the same time, I would be telling him, if I'm Coach McDaniel or whatever, hey, and he does a great job going through his progressions, but sometimes I think Tua will hold the ball trying to make a play down the field. And sometimes, just depending on what the score is in the game or whatever, sometimes it's better to just throw it away. Don't turn the ball over, but throw it away and say, hey, we got a good enough defense where we can come back this and that, but don't take
another play.
Yeah, don't take unnecessary hits, this and that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And let's just play a little bit more smart and a little bit more precautious, because until we get this line fixed, it's definitely a concern for me.
That's something they talked about today in the pressers. Tua brought it up about how that's not natural for him, because he's just trying to always make a play, and that how it is now. McDaniel mentioned it too. It's going to be something they're working on, a trait they're going to try and change. Like, just live to see another day. Like, you got to understand. And you learn this when you play the position, even, at a house league level at a young age. You got to protect yourself, man. Like, you have to protect, especially when we now know how much it's crazy. Yes, I know people want to say, hey, this hurts them because it looks at the best ability is availability. But on the flip side, this has actually helped him and showed how much he means to this team, this offense. Like, he is the cog that turns the wheels in a sense here. I mean, he is the distributor. It's just not the same with him. The energy level's not the same. Nothing's the same, So, I mean, we'll see him this weekend, but let's start off with this Viking game, guys. So ugly, especially that drive where, Skyler kept getting inside the 10, and we just kept taking penalties. We took a total of, I believe, 5 penalties on that drive. Skyler was doing his damnedest, and I was so mad that our defense was, we came into that game bottom 3 in the league in 3 and outs, and Skyler's working his ass off, and our defense is busting their ass. And that offensive line, and people tried to, they're undisciplined against McDaniel. Connor Williams has been in the league for how long? Why is he ineligible down the field? Is that McDaniel? Yeah. Is McDaniel the one that is using improper technique and getting beat, so he has to resort to holding guys like Liam Eichenberg? I mean, is that McDaniel? No, okay. Robert Hunt had a false start. Sure, let's talk about that one if you want to say that. Okay, that comes down to cadence and coaching and all that jazz. Okay, so okay, let's have a talk about that. But some of these were guys. I mean, we got an offensive pass interference on Ingold. right? We got Sherfield got called for what was he called for again? Up along that that blocky lady he got called too for something. Anyways, my whole point is you can say what you want, and this is what I wanted to say, boys. And I said it on Finside the NFL. Why are we just looking at Mike McDaniel? Don't we have positional coaches for a reason? Don't we have coordinators for a reason?
Right.
Like, why is no one talking about Matt Applebaum? You want to talk about undisciplined? This is his first year coaching in the NFL at the NFL level to this extent, and he's getting undisciplined players. I mean, I'd look at Matt Applebaum. I wouldn't be looking at Mike McDaniel. Why'd you keep Lemuel Jean-Pierre on the staff when we saw what we got last year? You know what I mean? Like, there's. Let's have a good conversation, boys. Again, another week. Nothing from our special teams. Mm-hmm. Danny Crossman's been here for how many years now? Is that on McDaniel or is that on Crossman?
That's on the guy that's been here the longest.
Yeah. I think the thing that's disturbing for me is you're at home. It's not like you're on the road. You're not dealing with crowd noise. You're not in a hostile environment. You're at home, and you get on the other side of the field where you're heading into the red zone, go zone, whatever we call it, 30 yards in or 20 yards in or whatever. And I think we all know, as BallGame can attest to, you playing with a much shorter field, and the defense knows it, and so they're going to tighten down. But the last thing you want to do is get in field goal position and then make consecutive penalties after penalty after penalty and take yourself out of a scoring position. I think that was the thing that was frustrating for me. It was like consecutive penalties, and I was like, man, we got to stop doing things to beat ourselves. I mean, it's hard enough to just get down in the red zone or whatever, but then to get down there, get in the opportunity where we have actually to get 3 points, 6 points, or whatever. That helps keep momentum going, this and that. And then to revert back, and then penalty after penalty after penalty. We almost back at the 50-yard line. You don't expect that out of a professional football team, and you don't expect that out of a team that's playing at home. So I think that's not really so much a coaching thing. I think guys have got to be able to, if you make a mistake, that's fine, but you got to be able to recover from that, put that out your mind, and get ready for the next play. But when it just continues and happens like that, it doesn't do you any good to feel sorry for yourself. Everybody makes mistakes, but if you keep dwelling on it, one mistake to turn to two to four, and like you said with your buddy that was a 5-star lineman that blew his knee out or whatever, it'll start a domino effect, and you'll go in the hole, and next thing you know, you're going to tank, and it'll even start carrying over from one game to the other one. So your mindset is definitely important. You got to focus on your technique. The plays, settle down and play football, but don't continuously do things to hurt the team to where you're taking points off the boards. It's just not smart football these days.
Yeah, I don't think at this point right now, man, these guys had any real faith in anybody other than Uno, but they at least tried, and then to have who was it said it? Somebody made a statement and said you can't win. Oh, X said it. You can't win games if your offense ain't scoring. I mean, it's pretty much putting it right back into the other side and saying, y'all got hey, we're gonna try to hold up as best we can over here, guys, but we need some help from y'all.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to a lack of execution.
That's it.
That's what it's coming down to. I know people were trying to spin that and say, oh, they're calling out. He's calling out McDaniel. He's not calling out McDaniel. Like, look at some of those play designs, the play calling at points. Like, it was good. The execution is what seriously lacked, especially at moments under Teddy Bridgewater. That's like when I saw people trying to spin that into a Mike McDaniel thing. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here's the nonsense, and that's not even what it's about, man. So people need to relax on that. All right. So end of the day, it was a 24-16 loss. You know what's crazy, boys? And actually, I haven't mentioned this yet. If you go back to my my Friday night preview show, I predicted the score down to the point.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's crazy.
I didn't. I realized it on Sunday night. Like I was sitting there with my wife. I said, "Hold on a second." It just clicked, and I looked at, and I went back and checked the preview show, and I was like, "Oh damn! I called this one right down to the score." So because I do the preview show on Inside the NFL on Friday, so
Right.
yeah, 24-16 wasn't pretty. The frustrating thing, like the Jets game and like the Bengals game, is there were chances. I mean, that defense was forcing 3 and outs. We kept them at 10-3, and it really, the wheels fell off with the Jalen Waddle fumble when he was trying to do too much. And then we followed that up with the interception.
Yeah.
We got over the early interception, early on, but that late interception and that late fumble really broke our back. Like,
Two gloves.
Batman over Bane's knee, right? So, and again, guys, now Jason Sanders in the last 2 years is 2 for 9 from field goals of 50+ yards. 2 for 9.
Gotta be mental now.
You know what it's got to be? It's got to be there's the bus ticket, bud. There's call him an Uber, get it here quicker. So
appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. And I think there's going to be sweeping changes to special teams this offseason. I really do. I think Crossman's going to be out. I can already, guys, we're getting nothing from the return. We're not shifting field position at all. We're 6 games in. Do we have a return on a punt of over 10, 15 yards?
Nope.
So, I mean, I don't know. Ugly stuff. Continuing on, though. I honestly, I can't believe we're on a 3-game losing streak right now. So I'm going to ask you guys this. I know it's a small sample size. And then when we had the big sample size, it was not his install, not his game plan. Is Skylar Thompson QB2 or is Teddy Bridgewater QB2 at this point? Because, hey, they kind of tipped their hat to not only how much it means that the quarterback is able to practice all week to run the installs and the game plan, but also it seemed like they believed in Sky a little bit more. What are you guys' thoughts? Who's QB2 right now? Like, who in your mind, if you play the coach role, who is your quarterback 2 right now?
I think we've gotten more production out of Skyler than we have Teddy at this point. I mean, if you just look at stats and the amount of times he's played, and then he's been efficient. Even in the Jet game, for him to come in and not really get many reps and to play the way he played, sure he made some mistakes and stuff like that, but I think he's playing decent enough. Like you said, we were getting in the red zone. It was just we were beating ourselves with mental errors, penalties, whatever, until he had to go out with his hands. So if you're just doing it based on production, performance, or whatever, for me, it would probably be Skyler at this point. And the other thing is, hopefully, he can just sit there and hold the clipboard, and we can keep Tua healthy. Because if we can keep him healthy, it is a huge drop off. I think that's what a lot of people understand. Like you said, a lot of people, they get frustrated. They want to blame the coach. They want to do this and that. And sometimes you got to just look back and say, time out, take a deep breath and say, okay, what's really the issue here? Like you said, I think the play calling and stuff has been good, this and that. It's just come down to execution. And if you don't execute, it doesn't matter what he calls or how well they do it. It ain't gonna work. It's just that simple. So yeah, I would say Skyler at this point, just based off production, what we got out of it.
Yeah, I think for me, man, it comes down to who could come in and at least provide some energy for this group. And Bridgewater just seems flat to me, and
he seems checked out.
He's just like collecting a check at this point.
Yeah, he's already coaching in Northwestern mentally.
But Skyler, on the other hand, is out there, talking to guys, moving around like he really wants to be
making
there,
plays with his legs.
Yeah, all of the things that you want a guy to be doing to energize the group. So for me, yeah, he's definitely moved himself up the depth chart. I mean, they can tell me Teddy going tomorrow, and I ain't gonna miss him.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. Like, I know he finished with 329 passing yards. Like, isn't that the most hollow 329 yards you can remember? Like, it all came in the fourth when they were playing soft on us. Remember, for the first 3 quarters, he was like hovering around like 100 yards. They were like totally just shutting him down. Like, I mean, it's just Bridgewater, just the offense felt really stagnant under him. Like, anyone could have got those garbage time yards, but like you look at Skyler, it's the first quarter tight game, and he was moving the football and giving us a chance to put points on the board. You know what I mean? He got us inside the 10 twice, and both times on the same drive, we shot ourselves in the foot with penalties, right? So, okay. The offensive line has now gotten every quarterback injured, but on top of that, guys, Greg Little right now leads the league in pressures allowed. Eichenberg, I believe, is 7th in pressures allowed. Greg Little has clearly not been the same since he injured his hand.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Hunt regressing ball game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think maybe that's a product of how bad Little's been since he injured his hand?
Because
we weren't noticing Hunt struggling before Little fell off the cliff with his play, right?
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, Richmond could attest to this, right? Tackles are pretty much, they're independent. To some degree. Unless you're doing stuff that's inside them in their gaps, but overall, they have to deal with a different level of threat around the edge. But the guys that are playing inside, man, they're really left vulnerable a lot of times. Well, they have to help the guy next to him a lot. And then when the guy that's next to you, if he's struggling like a mug, it kind of confuses you to some degree as to what you really need to be doing. Because if you watch from the film we watched last night, there's a lot of times where, and Connor Williams too, he tripping too. I really believe he's venturing to go help Hunt, and Hunt's trying to help the right tackle. You got 3 guys going to one side and leaving Eichenberg, who is clearly the least, the least equipped guy up front to deal with somebody one-on-one. He left by himself, but both of these guys are looking to help the guy and overextending themselves, and it's causing even more chaos. You feel me? You watch Connor every time he go directly to Hunt. Hunt don't need you. Eichenberg needs you. But I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he played left guard, so he's naturally going to help the center. Yeah, he had to do a lot of that. And
Williams keeps doing that. We talked about that, right? Williams keeps sliding to his right, helping Hunt instead of Eichenberg, who needs the help.
Right. And am I wrong, Richmond? But some of those habits, man, they become so ingrained.
But those are habits that should be addressed on the sideline in between series, and it shouldn't take you that long to pick it up to say, okay, we knew we would slide our protection if you had a monster over. Even like a lot of times we played Buffalo, we would slide to Bruce, this and that. You slide to that protection to that side. If we play Reggie, this and that, you give a guy help where we need this and that. And a lot of times, even if it was an interior guy, sometimes you had to back check and make sure before he gets out of just a little chip out. So. But that's a conversation, and I don't know if Eichenberg is man enough to step up to say, "Hey, man," because we would look at the sheets like the quarterback, but we had the end zone copy where we didn't. I don't need to see what the receivers and out. It was just the 5 inside between the tackle and tackle box.
Right.
And if you see it continue to happen, and then you continue to go away from that, I'm like, either you trying to set me up for failure or what? I'm like, bro, what's up? And I'm sure the coach should say something too. So that doesn't make sense to me. If that's a guy that needs the help, that we find a way to kind of help slow that guy. Maybe not on every play, but on as much as we could, we would help that guy out. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and Williams was going religiously right over the Hunt, and Eichenberg left out there on the island, and he failing. I mean, I felt bad for him, but then I'm thinking to myself, like, no, he's a grown man now, so I'm not gonna do it. Because I had to eventually. Huh?
You're muted.
You're muted, Rich.
Rich, you went mute. You're muted.
But Hunt can look at it and say, hey, I'm good. Let's help Eichenberg out until we get this thing situated. But, let's slide it over there. I can handle this guy here, this and that, and then just go from there. So, yeah.
Ball game.
Yes, sir.
Needham tears his Achilles.
Big loss.
Kadir Kahoo's hurt. I mean, we're down to like Justin Bethel's getting reps.
Walking wounded, man.
What are you thinking about this cornerback room, which we were already questioning the depth now with all these injuries piled up? I know we got like this stretch where we can get healthy and we can probably still make it through. But, the last 6 weeks, we're really going to need a far more healthy room. What are your thoughts going forward with all these injuries piling up? Because some of them are pretty significant.
I mean, at this point, bro, you got to go out and find some help, man. And you got guys screaming on other teams saying that they don't want to be there anymore. Ain't no point to it. If you're trying to win now, you got to go ahead and send something. Send something in a package deal to get the guy. You know what I mean? William Jackson, right? That's who it was, right? William Jackson's out there asking to be traded from the Commanders. Whoever else is out there, at this point, you can't be picky. Beggars can't be choosers, you know what I mean? And we don't have no idea really when Jones is coming back. Needham's gone for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Some of these other guys, like you said, can get healthy over the stretch, but that still doesn't alleviate the fact that you got Noah who's going to go out there now as a starter. And although he's my guy, I just don't necessarily have 100% faith that that's going to be the best thing, because if the first mistake he makes could be the last mistake he makes, and then you know what I mean? We right back to square one again. And, he had a decent game. I'm not going to say he didn't. He got burnt, got a DPI, you know what I'm saying? But then turned around and knocked away 2 passes. But I think it was just happenstance of bad ball placement, because those were catchable balls by the receiver. But nevertheless, I'm not going to take that away from him. But health-wise, man, we are horrible right now. And I think a lot of this started with and will continue to be on the shoulders of Byron Jones, because he didn't get a lot of credit for what he actually did. And if you really go back and look at how effective we were in the secondary, it was because he completely eliminated his target and allowed X to be truly the best version of himself and be able to freelance.
And they allowed us to be aggressive up front.
Aggressive up front, too, because then Holland didn't have to necessarily worry about trying to go back here and be the fill-in guy for everybody else. You see what I'm saying? That's not Byron. You know what I mean? And that's why I think his play is also regressive, because you take those 2 pillars and now you only got one. There's some deficiencies over in that other area, and you got to try to shore that up.
Especially when it's a carousel on that other side. It's not even like one guy. Like I think Holland would be fine if Trill Williams was over there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. That one hurt too. Trill, that injury hurt big time. And Keon Crosson's battling an injury too, right? So it's everywhere.
Man. Speed guys always seem to pull up. I mean, he's light, but at the same time, he fast as hell and a quick twitch guy, but he run himself ragged. And this happens to Crossan every single year, though. He's been horrible at staying healthy every year he's been in the league, bro.
Yeah.
That was always my biggest thing with him. Fast as hell, great athleticism, but just no dog.
Yeah. No dog. Yeah. Let me ask y'all, do you think a Mike Gesicki trade is on the verge? And I ask you this because, first of all, there was a report yesterday from Jeremy Fowler, and one of the things that Jeremy Fowler said was the Miami Dolphins are in a weird spot with Mike Gesicki, who was underused in Coach Mike McDaniel's offense after 73 catches a year ago. He has 15 through the first 60 games, and through 3 though 3 have gone for touchdowns. And he said sources say Miami is in the we're willing to listen phase with Gesicki, but isn't quite shopping his services to other teams. Execs I've talked to don't want much to do with his $10.9 million franchise tag, and find it odd Miami placed a tag on him in March just to sit him on the bench. And then there was also an article from PFF, and it was you go all the way back in August, they were even talking about, and this is after the franchise tag and everything, they were talking about how he was his name had been brought up to other teams. And that was back in August. So now you got Jeremy Fowler of ESPN saying this week he's hearing they're willing to listen. Reports back in August where we're willing to listen. First of all, do you see a Gesicki trade happening? Because I think it's going to have to be for better than a third because you get that compensatory third pick if he walks anyways.
Right.
But doesn't that kind of worry you guys that his market might be cooler than what people think if his name was brought up in August and now they're listening in October and we're not really hearing anything even being remotely close?
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, this was, I don't know. I mean, the team is in a really crazy space, right? Looking to hope that maybe somebody's going to jump out there and do something crazy and send you something ridiculous for him. But, when they actually go back and they look at the statistics, though, he really hasn't done much to stand out. You see what I'm saying? So that kind of kills a lot of what you might have had for value in him, especially considering now at this point, Kelly and Durham Smythe was actually used more than him. You know what I mean?
But let me ask you this. You don't think you could lure a team like they've got some you don't think you could lure a team like the Packers to give up something like a second round? They need help so badly right now for Aaron Rodgers. You don't think you get them to give you a second round pick or a lineman?
Yeah, but they got
because they got nothing. Like Alan Lazard, bro, is like number one over there. And they're losing games because they don't have anything to help Rodgers.
Yeah, you'd have to have a team like that that definitely needed another threat for Rodgers, like to throw the football to. But I think the thing is,
I think he could be a big slaughter, boundary guy for Rodgers. I think Rodgers could light it up with him for sure.
And you got to look at it too. The argument I would make if I was Miami trying to upsell him is, hey, he hadn't had Tua for 3 weeks, so yeah, he only caught 15 passes. It's all in how you package it together. But I think with, like you said, Smythe is being used more than Gesicki. I think that's a position where they said maybe we can offload him, maybe bring in another lineman or another corner or something like that to kind of fill some areas that we truly have a need in that we're very thin in. So I could see them doing. I'm not saying the team is going to go for it, but when a team know you need something too, they could, like you said, reason. I think it'd take more than a third. So you might have.
Well, you know what my whole play with it. You know what my whole play would be, Richmond, because everyone knows I want to target Carolina for either their center Bradley Bozeman and kick Connor to left guard, and I want to target Taylor Moton, the right tackle there. I would be trading Gesicki to get extra draft capital because I want to move it in one of those moves, right? One of those trades. Like his whole thing would be to kind of replenish my draft capital for next year. Because I don't think you're going to get a player for Gesicki. I think you're going to get a draft pick. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Now, I think you're going to have to give up a draft pick or two to get a player that we want to help fix this offensive line. So you might as well cut that in half with a draft pick back in the way of Gesicki, right? That's just my thinking. Boys, Tua is officially back.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and he is set to face off with the returning Brian Flores. Let's get into the Steelers week now. What are your guys' feelings on this whole? Because I mean, I'm so proud of our thumbnail. It's one of my favorite thumbnails I've ever done. It looks beautiful. But Tua Tagovailoa versus Brian Flores, I think Tua is going to cook. I think this team is getting up for this game. I think this team's had this circled on the calendar since the offseason. The guys who were here last year. I mean, we know it's not just Tua. There's guys on both sides of the ball that don't like Brian Flores. What are your guys' whole thoughts on Brian Flores returning to basically a franchise where there's still a lot of remaining hostility because of also what Flores filed against the team itself? Also, non-coincidentally, this is the week that Ross came off his official suspension too. So he's allowed to be in the facility, be around the team, and be in the building. What are your guys' thoughts on Brian Flores returning to Miami, the city he let down?
I think for as media wise, they're definitely going to try to hype it up. They're going to bring up all the points and stuff. I don't know if they'll bring up disgruntled players, but definitely, the lawsuit against the Miami Dolphins, this and that. I'm sure they'll ask Tua about it, how he feels about his coach and stuff like that. But he's always been. He's not going to let nothing out the bag. However he feels, he's going to say the correct things in the media. So he's not going to give the Steelers anything, billboard material, something to get him a spark to do that. He's not that. Now, some of these other guys, you put the mic in the right person's face, and, they're going to tell it how it is. But I think if I'm Coach McDaniels, I tell my players, don't get caught up in the hype. Let's get back to doing things the right way. Let's get a win up under our belt, and let's get our momentum going back like we were. We're starting to get some guys back healthy, this and that will be my focus. But don't play into all the drama, this and that, because I'm sure Wednesday, Thursday, and those 2 media days, maybe a little bit Friday, that's all they want to be asking. What are your feelings about, you're going to face Coach Flores? Coach Flores is not the head coach. He's a linebacker coach, and I'm sure he's going to coach his guys up, and I'm sure he's going to kind of play it the same way. So, but I do think those questions will be asked. And I don't know how many people will actually say how they feel, but I think some guys are going to be hyped up for this game. I agree with you on that too, especially if they didn't like Coach Flores. They're going to say, oh, yeah, we need to put some pain on them and let's go out there and show them. Yeah.
I think it's I agree with everything you just said, Richmond. I think these guys are going to probably do something we don't anticipate them doing. They're just going to be highly professional about this. Look at it as just another opponent that they got to go through the whole process of beating on the field, and then reserve use how they feel about him to.
What was that?
To fuel themselves, right? But keep it classy, you know what I mean? Because the last thing we need to do is be out there acting like, you know what I'm saying, acting like a bunch of jabronis just because this guy now at this point is over there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The last thing, the only thing I can recall is like what they did to us in that playoff game when they beat the crap out of us.
Oh.
But most of these players weren't around for that, so they don't even remember that. So it's just business as usual. But it will be, obviously great to be able to see him, beat him, and then send him home. So I mean, Tua probably has the most motivation, but I think he's gonna keep it 100% classy and just go about it the right way. And not allow himself to get caught up in everybody else's foolishness,
Let me ask you all this. BallGame from a coaching perspective, Richmond from an NFL player perspective. Put yourself into his shoes for a sec. Would y'all be worried about him knowing player and defensive weaknesses? How to attack you? Or are you not worried because it's a totally new offense? But even still, were you be worried about how him knowing to attack this defense because it's basically, his baby, what he built with Boyer?
I think it's more. I'll take this one, Richard. You can.
Okay.
I think it's more. And that would be easier for him to do if Tua was indeed the same player that he was when he was here, but he's not. You know what I mean? There's been a lot of things about Tua that have completely changed. And I think he's way better version than Flores remembers. And, at the end of the day, Flores is a position guy. So his remembering, his memories of Tua ain't gonna really help them with the new version in which he is. You see what I'm saying? But on the flip side, yeah, he can know how to attack the defense. But in the same sense, do you have the guys to do it?
Yeah, and Trubisky or Pickett, I don't know about that.
Yeah, Pickett and Claypool and I don't know who Johnson is the other
Deontay Johnson.
Yeah. So
they got my boy George Pickens too.
Yeah, George Pickens. Yeah, but those young guys who are prone to mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And I think as long as you got some of our guys somewhat healthy, we're still a better defense than their offense.
I agree. Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's not even close.
So
Richmond, what are your thoughts on that? Put yourself into his position, like.
My thoughts is if I was Brian Flores, it might be a couple things you can say about Tua, but I I would go with the obvious. I would go with
You're clear of him.
attacking the offensive line with the interior stunts. They hadn't fixed it. It's been 3 or 4 weeks, and on any quarterback, what's the thing you want to do? You want to get pressure, and you don't always. It can come from outside, but with the way we've had issues picking up stunts, hey, let's keep giving them a heavy dose of that. If they can't pick it up, that's going to force the quarterback out of there, and I think he knows the last thing he want to do is get Tua hurt again. So
Yeah.
I think we'll see a lot of stunts. It might even be like interior tackles with a linebacker, mixed in there to where, back possibly has to pick him up. So I think we'll see some stunts to see if this offensive line has actually fixed that. If we hadn't fixed it, I think it'd definitely be exposed. And that's what he would be looking at to try to expose that. Unless Tua hurt him on some passes, stuff like that. But that if I was a coach, I would be looking at, okay, offensive line, they got some issues. That's what we need to attack. Where's the weak spot? Left guard. Okay, what are they having issues with this year? Okay, let's see if they're gonna pick it up. If they hadn't fixed it in 3 weeks, let's see if they fix it this week.
Do you guys anticipate both? You're talking about the stunts, and let's talk about this offensive line. Do y'all both anticipate Armstead and Austin Jackson to be back this week? Jackson didn't practice today, but I know that he was pushing to go last week, so I think it's just extra. They're just keeping him out for a little bit extra. I've heard that the plan is for them both to be back this week. That's why Tua is a full go this week as well. What if Jackson isn't a go? You look at a guy like Brandon Shell. He only allowed 2 pressures when he was at his natural position last week, kicked back from left tackle to right tackle where he's actually where he's actually comfortable. If Jackson can't go, would you guys be comfortable with Brandon Shell kicked at right tackle and Armstead at left tackle?
You could try. Like you say, Greg Little, he has the issue with his hand, which that is a challenge. You could always put Shell out there and give him a shot at it. Like I say, it's a was it Sunday night game, this and that. So this is a primetime game. The good thing is it's not TJ Watt over there.
Yeah, that's it. He's out, right?
Yeah, he's out. So but guys know if you play well in the primetime games, come time to vote for the Pro Bowl All-Pro, you show the league what you can do. So I give him a shot at it. If not, you can always go back to Little. But that would be something I would consider if he's played pretty good over there, because we need to have the best 5 out there to protect that quarterback and kind of get back into a rhythm and get this offense flowing and say, okay, when we're healthy, this is what we look like. But when we don't have the guys we need, we see it's a huge drop-off. And we need the best 5 out there on the offensive line that we can get.
Stop Najee, make Pickett beat you.
Let me ask you guys about this though. Sunday Night Football. Flores returning. Tua's back.
Big game.
But we're a team that this means a little bit extra because we don't get a lot of Sunday night primetime games, right? We've actually, I believe, we've been scheduled for 3, but we had, we're scheduled for 4, but we had one flexed out in 2009 for a Vikings Cardinals game. So we've actually, since they changed the whole format in 2006, I believe, for Sunday Night Football, we've actually only been on it 3 times. We don't get a lot of chances in Sunday Night Football. Man, am I the only one who's like, my hair stands on its end just thinking about it? Like, am I the only one who's like, okay, I get it, we're 500, but it's a clean slate.
Yeah,
we got 11 games to go ahead and basically leave our mark. And it starts on Sunday Night Football against a returning coach whom a lot of us don't like, let alone we can imagine how some of these players feel. I mean, this is one we had circled preseason. How are y'all feeling that, it's almost electric, the feeling about going to Sunday Night Football, man? How you guys feeling about that? I wanted to get your thoughts because we since we've been doing this show, guys, we're almost, we're just a little over 80 episodes, I believe. We've never done it for a primetime Sunday night football game, right? So how you guys feeling about, letting the games get out of the way and then the whole nation gets to watch Tua come back and us lay a licking to Flores and the Pittsburgh Steelers? I mean, aren't y'all excited?
I think that's the most important thing. I think, like you said earlier, you and BallGame said we're 3-3. So a lot of people are questioning whether the Dolphins were for real or not, and a lot of people are not taking into consideration that we've had this quarterback musical chair system where being in and out. We've lost a starter for a couple of weeks, but we get Tua back, and this offense gets clicking, and he feeds Waddle, Hill, feeds those guys, and show the playmaking ability this offense has. Not only it shows the fans, but it shows other teams that possibly got to come and play against us and say, hey, when Tua's in there, this is a different team.
Yeah,
and
it's a beast.
If they give him time, you're dealing with a legitimate playoff contender. And I think that's the thing, is getting guys back, getting them healthy, this and that. And if we can kind of solidify this offensive line, and like I said, the defense, it was a huge difference with X in there this week versus the previous week.
Mm-hmm.
And then, hopefully another week or two, we get Jones back. That's going to strengthen that up. That's going to free Holland up. We could peak at the right time, but I think we need to get this going back in the right direction this week. So this is a perfect way to kind of put the league on notice and put people on notice that now they are for real. They just had some injuries, because I know a lot of people question that. A lot of people say, yeah, they was hot coming out, but they hadn't done nothing in 3 weeks, and so this and that. But and it's a Sunday night game, so hey, they might have all aqua on or whatever. Normally teams.
No, we're going throwbacks. We're going throwbacks.
Okay, throw it back.
Because they're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the 72 team. We're even wearing a 50th anniversary patch. They released the jersey on their social media today, and funny enough, it was Armstead's the number 72. BallGame, your thoughts? And an interesting thing based off of what Richmond said there for a sec. X, he shut down Justin Jefferson, and they had to scheme Jefferson away from him to get him open. But anyways, your thoughts on prime time, because you want to hear something, BallGame? Let's take it down memory lane for a sec here. Check this one out. I'll set you up for a home run, all right? So we've played 3 times since they changed the format in 2006, all right, on Sunday Night Football. The first time we played in 2000, it was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was also Dante Culpepper was his first game in a Dolphins uniform. It was him and Nick Saban against Charlie Batch and the Steelers, and we lost. Well, anyways, your thoughts of primetime?
I think it's always important for us to be able to steal moments and to be the feature game on Sunday, where there's been so much scrutiny around number one, and him being back. I think they're going to be up for this game. I think he's going to do everything in his power to ensure that we get the W, and he's not going to disappoint. And that will put the rest of the league, and anyone that has any questions about whether Tua is the heart and soul of this offense or the driving force behind this offense, put that to rest, and then they get to see that the Dolphins are serious. And this offense is something that you really got to go get your game planning properly done for. I think for me, anytime you can come out of the shadows, well, I would say be talked about, but then people get to actually see you, you know what I mean? And you be the only ones that they get to focus on. That's always good publicity. And I'm just hoping that, this week's preparations are taken seriously, and the guys that we're getting back, can help us tremendously pull off the W. I don't want to get too excited, but at the same time, I wouldn't love for nothing more than to come out of that game, with the W and a really convincing win, not just a win by a couple points, but like hang 2 or 3 solid scores on them, to distance yourselves, say, listen, y'all got some work to do, We're a little bit further along than y'all, but we got a destination that don't have anything to do with y'all right now. We done with y'all. See y'all later, type of thing, So,
what are you guys' thoughts before we get into final thoughts and prediction here? What are you guys' thoughts on this Kenny Pickett situation? Because he got concussed and put into protocol on Sunday, and he's already been cleared and he's already been practicing.
Yeah, I'm 100% convinced that all of the things that have happened to us, all the way down to them restricting Tua and holding them out and keeping them out. I mean, we did the PR thing, right, so that nobody wouldn't beat us up for putting them back in and whatnot because they accused us of doing that. But in the same sense, they're punishing us, right? They're punishing us because the owner decided that he wanted to do the best thing he could to get himself a winning put himself in a winning situation, and the league is really just being petty as hell because how can you have this kid in protocol come Sunday and then it's just Wednesday and he already cleared? Like, come on, man. Really, truthfully, if you're really talking about it, it's the same thing. Like, they're picking and choosing who they want to protect, at the same time picking and choosing who they want to punish, because T. Higgins was jacked up on the sideline a couple of weeks ago, and they didn't protect him at all. You see what I'm saying? But you let it be the Dolphins who got smacked on the hand for tampering and all this other stuff with Ross. Oh, well, your quarterback, you know what I'm saying? All this, it's just a bunch of BS to me. I think across the board, they're never going to be fair. You just got to go out, shoot them the fade. You know what I mean? Ain't going to be no fair one. You just got to go out and punch people in the face, man, and just make them recognize you for who you truly are and say, you know what? I'm not apologetic about kicking your ass. It is what it is. Everybody trying to win. So, the apologize is over. You punished us. We moving on from it. All this other petty shit, man, forget it, man. It is what it is. I don't care about that no more. We trying to win just like everybody else is. And the fact of the matter is, across the NFL, 32 teams all looking to try to do the same thing, get better every year, and be in the last game played and win that game to bring the glory back to their fans and to their, and to their home cities. And I'm not gonna be mad at Ross for trying to do something that way. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta be smart about it. You can't tell me Jerry Jones and some of these others ain't out here doing the same thing. You just gotta be smart about how you do it.
Oh, there's dysfunction going on right now. They're calling out Dan Snyder and he's responding. Yeah. It's dysfunction city. Did you guys also hear Steve Smith today? He said he's never seen anyone as fast as Tyreek Hill at the wide receiver position, but then he questioned Tyreek's hands.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. And so anyways, I'm going to give you guys a chance, final thoughts and predictions. But before I'll give you guys something to talk about in your final thoughts, I wanted you guys to hear what Fitzpatrick said about Brian Flores today on Rich Eisen. All right. So let me know if you guys can hear it and we're all good.
But Sunday night, we're all going to be watching the Steelers and the Dolphins. On a scale of 1 to 10, Brian Flores and Tua Tagovailoa together on the same field in the same house. We're Miami, and we all know what's going on there. What's the awkward meter? 1 to 10, Brian. What do you got for me on that?
Well, I think they will avoid an interaction. I don't think you'll get your handshake or your bro hug before or after the game. I think it's an important game for Tua. Yes, because Brian Flores is on the other side. I'm sure Brian's gonna, say this is what we need to do to this kid, this, and this. But for Tua, and again, what we saw the Sunday versus the Bills, and then that Thursday night game following with the concussions and the fencing posture and all that, for him to come back, hopefully, being completely healthy and being able to get through the season without any more concussions. I think everybody's going to be dialed in and is rooting for him just to be able to stay healthy for the rest of the year.
Well, I mean, I know this sounds like a tea spilling question, but whatever you're willing to share, what was happening back then when Tua was drafted? You're there, you're playing, he's in, Flores was making a decision. It seemed like that was a tip and there was an iceberg underneath. Is that a fair assessment to say, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I even as quarterback and on the front lines and in some of those meeting rooms, you still never really know what exactly was going on behind the scenes. But, I've been in that situation quite a bit where they drafted Tua high. Obviously, it was going to be my team until they felt like he was ready. And that was the COVID year. Our bye got moved, I think, up from maybe week 11 to week 6. And so, the natural whether it's after a Thursday night game where you get the 10, 11 days, or it's after, a bye where you can put a young kid in and start planning and get a cheat and get a few extra days. That's probably when it was going to happen all along. It was just tough because there was some stuff Tua wasn't ready for. He wasn't prepared to go out and do. But that being said, as a quarterback, I think some of it you could point to that year and putting him in. The problem is we went 10-6, and there were some guys on that team that felt like, maybe I gave a better chance to win, but long term for the Dolphins, that was the better move for them to do.
Sure, but he and I guess Flores were not copacetic, or were you just sort of in between the whole thing? I mean, what was it going on?
And some of that got worse after I left.
Right.
There was an influx of offensive coordinators, and they continued to change play callers, and nobody was ever really good enough for the head coach. But Tua, I think, did a good job through all of that, of battling through, of working hard, putting his head down. And I think this year he's been able to see the other side of it a little bit with a coach in Mike McDaniel that completely 100% believes in him as a player, loves him as a person. And you've seen the results early for Tua, and how that mental part, just giving him some confidence, has really translated on the field.
So, I mean, it was clearly evident that, he said there's going to be no handshakes. There's going to be no really love. They're going to avoid each other. And there was problems when he was there, but it got worse when he left. And notice what he said. None of the coordinators were good enough for the head coach. Did you notice? Did you hear that? When he said that, I was like, oh, yeah, exactly. So, guys, final thoughts on that and your game predictions for Tua's return in primetime this Sunday.
Yeah, I think for me is I'm definitely happy that Tua is back and getting him back in the starting role as a quarterback. That definitely gives us the best chance to win. I would like to see this offensive line play a lot more consistent and play better. I'd like to see Armstead and Jackson back in the lineup and put the best 5 guys out there, because I just know how important it is to protect your quarterback. And when you give him protection, we've seen what he can do. I mean, we've seen the production. I know Waddle and Hill and the rest of those receivers, they'll definitely be happy that he's back out there, and it gives us the best chance to win. So I'm going to say Tua plays. I don't know about the offensive line, but Tua plays. I believe we win this game. I believe it's low scoring based on quarterback play from the Steelers is not very great. Trubisky, this and that. But I'm gonna go 21-10 if Terron, Armstead, and Jackson plays. You can add another 6-7 points, 27-13, something like that. But I think we can score 21-10 with maybe not one of those guys playing, with both of them playing. We can at least put up 26, 27 points. So 21-10 or 27-13, something like that. Just depending on who we got in the offensive line. That's my prediction.
I think
Dolphins win. I'm sorry.
I think if everybody comes out and is predicted and they play up to the level that we expect them to play in terms of guys up front, even if they move Jackson inside and start Little at right tackle or whatever the case may be, I think we good. I think this offense with Tua at the helm can put up 35 points. So
yeah, I agree. I think we can light them up.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go 35. I'm gonna go 35-14. Right.
We're doing that
because Najee. Later. Najee. But for the most part, I think it's not gonna be close. I think it's gonna be. They're all looking at this to be a statement game. And with Uno back at the helm, they got to go out and show and prove. So
yeah.
Everybody in there.
And BallGame, can we get some turnovers for the love of God?
Well, Pickett, he should be able to.
Yeah, but I thought we'd get them off Zach Wilson, brother. Yeah. Do you know Xavier Howard has 1 interception in his last 9 games? Just saying. Well, we need some turnovers, boys. We need some turnovers, please. I got us winning as well. I'll save my score prediction for Friday night on Inside the NFL when I fully dive in. and preview this game. Man, let's go. Let's go. It's finally Tua's back.
Yeah.
It's prime time. It's a beautiful thing. And you know what? Like, I kind of want McDaniel to get. You also, a part of y'all wants McDaniel to get that win just so he can rub it even more into Flores' face. And that's another reason why I hope you're right, ball game, because I hope it's an offensive showing and Flores gets to see what a real offense looks like. And whether it's Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, I ain't worried. I mean, we should be able to handle that. And our run defense has shown enough where if they're not going to get decent quarterback play, Najee Harris is probably going to get shut down by us. So
I don't think I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't think the Steelers defense has quite the talent level that the Jets defense has.
Either do I. I mean, yeah, I'm not worried. I think we should be able to slice and dice. All right, guys. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in, whether you're watching live on YouTube or whether you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen to us on the podcast network. Believe. Shout out to all of y'all. Thank you for continuing to support. I will be live on Friday night at 8 o'clock on Finside the NFL to preview the Dolphins and Steelers game further in depth. Guys, appreciate all y'all, and we will see you guys next week right back here at the finish line. Until then, everyone, please stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. Enjoy the company of your loved ones.
Indeed.
And as always, Fins up all day, every day, baby. We'll see y'all on the next one. Go Fins.